Katura said you lots
All
on.
right, we're ready. We're on. Hello and welcome. Welcome to Math CM, where we build life skills and math skills. So joining me today is the great and highly esteemed Miss Horton. And so I've had the pleasure of meeting and working with this veteran, this lifelong learner, this great educator, Miss Horton. And so we are in for a treat today. I see Mr. Hilton in. Welcome, Mr. Hilton. Thank you for coming. All right, so Ms. Horton, please tell us a little bit about yourself and a little bit about education, your background in education, and so on.
Okay, as quickly as I can. Right after university, I taught at the secondary level, taught mathematician at Warwick Secondary School here in Bermuda. As quickly as I can. Right after university, taught there for many years before the birth of my daughter. Once I had her, I then taught at the Berkeley Institute for a year before moving on to Canada, where I stayed for 17 years, then back to Bermuda and Cedar Bridge Academy. From there to Officer of Mathematics, the person who HR in the Ministry of Education, then on to permanent secretary, retired from permanent secretary many years ago. And ever since then, because of the shortage of teachers of mathematics, I've hardly stopped. So that was the time when I met you. During that time, one of the times I was called out of retirement.
Wow. Wow. Miss Horton, man, it was indeed a pleasure to meet you, and still is a pleasure talking to you. All right, I saw a guest join, KCHENOA. Welcome, welcome. Thanks for stopping by. All right, so it was very, very nice to meet you, Miss Horton. And so we want to jump right into the topic, which is build these skills and enjoy math. And so I'd like for you to tell me a little bit about what is needed at the basic level for students to enjoy math.
Sure. You may or may not know that I'm just coming out of preschool. So this is one of my retirements that I ended up in preschool, just finished. So, you know, I believe it starts that early. We at the preschool level work just as we do through the primary school. And one of the things we do, I would encourage, first of all, let me say this. I would encourage parents as they are driving their children around to talk to them, to pick things out. So children pass stop signs, you know, look at that red stop sign. Its shape is an octagon. So all of those build knowledge for the children. And if parents would do that and take them off their iPads, it would be a wonderful thing. We encourage at that level counting. And, you know, that's really the basics. And we use a lot of manipulatives. So one of the things I do each morning is have circle time. And the children at that age count items to 10 with relative ease, and can count back from 10 to 0 as well. So we do simple problems. The little boys take a red flag and stick it on the board. The girls take a blue flag and stick it on the board. And then we create little problems. There may be 4 girls and 5 boys, and we write that on the board, 4 plus 5. They start to understand that we're adding, and they can count everything. They can count themselves. and as we move on, they carry those skills with them. And throughout primary school, those kinds of things we do when we're doing problem solving, always use the names of the children. Like nothing happier for a child than to read his or her name in the problem. The other kids get a kick out of it as well. So we use a lot of that. One of the things I did at the primary level was to ensure that the children knew their tables. I think that is most important. My preschoolers knew their 10 times tables with ease. And one of the little problems we did with them was, they know they have 10 fingers and 10 toes. So we count them, and once we've counted them, they know each child in the class has 10 fingers. So if someone goes to the bathroom, how many fingers just left the room? The children will say 10. Well, how many are left? And they can tell you. That's a little problem that they have solved. And if I ask how did you figure that out? They can tell me that some will say I added them like 10, 20, 30 because they've learned to count in tens. Some will say, well, there were 4 left. And I know 4 times 10 are 40. And that's at the very young age. So yes, we can start them right down there and keep pushing. All the other tables I taught at the primary school level, but one of the things we had to do, and when I entered a grade 5 at one point, and children didn't know tables. So we set ourselves a goal. We set goals, and we learned tables, and we talked about how tables work and how we can figure out if we're a little bit off, and we talk about methods of coming up with the answer. And it's so helpful. So one of the other things we can do with children that age, once we're doing problem solving, always give them examples. We might need to measure the field. We might need to measure the classroom or the desk and talk about shapes. All of those help those little people, and they see where it's all going, and they understand what the shapes are. Nothing, we use books that have pretty colors in them. We use lots of manipulatives. So all of the 4 rules, addition, subtraction, division, where they understand what sharing is. It's, wow, so much can be imparted to these young people.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm being told that there's a little echo. I'm not sure where that echo is coming from, but I'm working on it. Welcome, Miss June Dill. I don't know if it's a Mr. or it's a Miss. I don't know what pronoun is there, so please forgive me. While Miss Horton spoke and shared about the digits, the fingers and the toes, I can't help but interject. There's a reason why we have 10 of these things, It reminds us of that wonderful guide that guides us even through life. So even our 10 fingers and our 10 toes. And so at the intermediate level, I know you mentioned the primary level a little bit, but for some of the viewers, they may be joining from the States where they may have junior high, or people in Jamaica that may have primary as well. So tell us, how can we get those students to be motivated to really love math even at the junior high level, the middle school level, as you call it there in Bermuda.
Right. At the middle, by the way, you know Miss June Dill. You met her at my home. For the intermediate or the middle school level. And I had a call there. That was another time I got called out of retirement. Went down to Clearwater Middle School from Somerset. So you would know that's one end of the island to the other, from Somerset to St. David's. I went down because the principal called me and she said, "Oh, I'm desperate." She was a friend of mine. And I said, "I don't know," all the way down there. She said, "Oh, please, we're desperate." So down I go, making that trek every morning. And, you know, what I found when I got there were a group of children who just were not interested, just not interested. So I said to them, "Well, if you work with me, you know, you had to motivate them." So we would start motivating them. I started with mental math. For instance, teaching them, they knew how to multiply by 10 just by adding the 0, and understood the difference in place value. We talked about that. And then we did quick methods of multiplying. For instance, by 11, that excited them because they could multiply by 11 on sight, or by 5. And a very long number by 5, write it down, they could do that. So this sort of got them interested, because when I told, and I said to them, "If you work with me, you will be the best M2 class in the island." Ms. Horton, you don't know us. That'll never happen. So I said, "Well, you have to work with me." And they did. And we applied math in many different ways, and everything that they use in life. You know, we went outside, we worked on different concepts, we taught them estimation, and they began to enjoy. And certainly at the end of the year, once they were okay with their problem solving, with their estimation, a few of them really stood out, about 9 of them. So I said, now we have to get parents on board. Those children came to me at 7:30 in the morning and on Saturdays to do mathematics, because I was going to put them in at the SM2 level for GCSE. And they showed up diligently. They worked extremely well. The entire class worked very well. However, at the end of all, and they were thinking well, they were applying math, they were amazing. I recall one day I was late for class because I had a meeting that ran late. And when I got to class, there was somebody at the board teaching them in my voice. And it was really hilarious. And, you know, we carried on. When we came to the final exam, I remember coming back to those children and saying, "Guess what?" They said, "What?" I said, "You were the best M2 class in the island." They screamed and hooted and hollered, and it had really worked for them. So, you know, they knew that if they were, I was going to take them and give them a treat. And just to show how they had worked it out so well, there were 52 of them. And I said, "Okay, I'm going to take you down. The closest place to buy any goodies was at the gas station." So I said, "I'm going to take you down to the gas station so you can buy something, but I can only spend $3 per person." One child said, "Ms. Horton, you have $150? I said, "Not really, I have a credit card." So that was amusing, but they really did well. And I want to add that, as did my 9 children who wrote the GCSE, 5 ended up with the best score they could have gotten. And you know GCSE, they got the best score they could have gotten, and the others did well. So, you know, motivation, show them that you care, love them, and bring parents into the picture, because parents actually supported me every step of the way. And I talked with parents, I brought them in, parents supported, parents showed up at that hour in the morning with their children. And so these are the kinds of things we have to do. And as we have to, that's our hope, get them going. And then we can certainly ensure that they become great. And they felt great. I felt they were great. Yeah. So it was a wonderful, wonderful time for me. I don't hear you.
Yes, Ms. Horton, as I listened to you share a while ago, I can see that those students had purpose. Those students look forward to coming to class. And you said it very well. The relationship that was fostered or built between you, them, and the parent.
That's
very,
right.
very important. I know that very well as well, Ms. Horton.
I know you do.
You know, it's really, really good to get all parties on board when we actually do this thing. And so there is a shout out from Robinson.
That was my
Lynette Levette. Yes. There's a shout out from her. She says, Miss Horton did a phenomenal job at Clearwater. We saw a group who was not confident in their abilities change, and they became excited about learning math. They had a teacher who believed in them. Thank you, Ms. Robinson. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
She was the one.
So
she was the one who dragged me to that school. She was my principal. She was my yes.
Oh, okay. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And so, viewers, those who are online, those who will watch afterwards, if you have not already subscribed to Math CM, where we build life skills and math skills, go ahead and subscribe. And also be sure to click the notification bell so that you can be the first to know when videos like this or live streams like this will come on the fore. And so, Ms. Horton, what sparked your interest in math? I am aware of you know, your early time in West End Primary. Yes, I wasn't around, I wasn't even thought of, but I heard by the vine. So go ahead and share what sparked your interest in the art of math.
My primary school. That was a wonderful experience there. But what really got me, I believe, was my grandfather. My grandfather was a businessman. And, you know, my grandfather was born in the 1863 or late 1800s, somewhere there. I think it was 1863. So anyhow, my grandfather was a wizard. He had built his own ice cream factory. So he owned and operated an ice cream factory here in Somerset, Bermuda. And you know, as things go, every offspring had to work there. You didn't have a choice. You had to, whenever you had your spare time, go to the ice cream factory and work. And I can recall my grandfather sitting there with numbers, I mean, loads of them. And in no time, he had the answer. He was doing his billings and everything by hand. He was amazing. And I'm guessing without much of a formal education. He had gone to elementary school, but not much of a formal education. And I believe, 1869 was when the school was built. So 1893, that's when he was born. And so just a mere 20 some years later, he came along, but his skills were second to none. And I used to think, well, one day I'm going to be able to do that. And it was fostered at West End School.
Yes, thank you, Miss Horton. I know that diligence and, working hard and staying to the tasks at hand are very important. And you have shown and shared how you don't have to have a lot of resources to actually do well.
Nice.
Humble beginnings are really good. And if you check it, viewers, if you check it, you will realize that many persons who have gone to great heights came from humble beginnings. And these things enable us to really appreciate many things. I want to leave a text with you. This text is from Proverbs, from the wise man, Solomon. Proverbs 22, verse 11. It says, "Seest thou a man diligent in his work? He shall stand before kings and not before mean men." I know Miss Horton has stood before kings, even the premier. And so diligence is very, very important. And so in math, sometimes problems are difficult. Sometimes students feel like throwing in the towel. Can the solution of these problems, Ms. Horton, actually motivate the students? Can they find joy in solving these difficult problems?
They certainly can. And one of the things we say, as we say in cricket, a little bit about cricket, stick to the wicket and the runs will come. And of course, we get them to stay there, try different methods, just work on the problem. It's not, and I stress that the answer itself is not that important. Show me the method by which you're going to get there. And once we can do that, and there may be several methods, and of course, we at times need to demonstrate, but certainly we lead them, but we lead them right to the correct situations. And there may be numerous ways of getting to their solution, and no one of us is wrong. And so we work with them where they are. And yes, at the end of the day, when they end up and you say, hey, you're correct, you know what it's like, elation. I mean, we've seen that with your kids. I mean, can I tell them how we first met? Do you mind? And again, I was called out of retirement. This time I ended up in secondary school, just because there's such a shortage of mathematics teachers in Bermuda. And I went to the Berkeley, my alma mater, my secondary school, and I found this young man here working. And unfortunately for him, and I felt real bad for about a week, it went after that, because I took his room, seniority. When they said they can't have Miss Horton running around the school finding another room. So poor Mr. Johnson had to give up his room for me. And I certainly appreciated that. And he did it without sulking. So, so we shared that room for lunch and for working purposes, but it was mine to teach in. And I think once I left at the end of the year, you got your room back, right, Mr. Johnson?
Yes, I did. But that experience was actually a wonderful one through and through. it was really, really wonderful. I tell you, sometimes, as we know, sometimes, things may not look, or you may not feel, really motivated when certain things happen. But, it's good when you exercise patience. Who would have thought a wonderful relationship would have blossomed out of me losing my room for a year?
Yeah.
It's really wonderful. I want to welcome Miss Anderson. Miss Anderson. Miss Anderson just dropped in. Welcome, Miss Anderson. And Miss Horton, yes, it was absolutely wonderful. Yes. And so, do these skills that we're talking about, do these skills apply to struggling students? Can struggling students be benefited by these skills that we're talking about?
Well, of course, I think all students can. And it just takes patience. And it takes, those of us sitting down with them one-on-one if necessary, after school, before school, whenever. And many of them will come. And I think of another situation. I saw a young man today and he says, "Hey, Miss Horton." And I waved at him and he's smiling. And I recall my time at the Barclay, and you might remember this, when he came to school, school was over, my time was done, but we were finishing off doing our reports. And he came and he brought me a gift. And
Wow.
he said, "Miss Horton, thank you so much. This is the first time I haven't had to do math at summer school."
Wow. Wow.
Then he says to me, "Well, how did you do it?" He said, "We both did it."
Yes, wonderful.
Yes.
Absolutely
I have
wonderful.
lovely stories about my children.
There is a almost a proverb that I learned a long time ago, probably from preparatory school days, that says, if at first you don't succeed, try and try again. Far too often I see young folks just give up, just ball up that paper and throw it away.
Right.
When, lessons can be learned. And you have just shared a wonderful success story with that young man who did not have to repeat during summer school. Miss Horton, does one have to be gifted to actually enjoy math?
Oh, I don't think so. I don't know that I was gifted. I just enjoyed math. And, for me, it was a challenge, and I enjoy a challenge. I actually, as a secondary school student, believe it or not, worked every single math problem in my math book.
Wow.
And that was my fun time when I went home. There weren't times when we certainly weren't running the streets, Mom might have been working, but you knew you were supposed to be home. And we were home. I would work every problem in the book. So by the time the teacher got to it, I already knew the answer. I had them all done. And I had enjoyment doing that. And I think that's what made me decide, you know what? I'm going to do mathematics when I go off to university, because I did do mathematics and chemistry, but I enjoy teaching math. I left the chemistry teaching to my girlfriend, who was my classmate. Yeah.
Yes, wonderful, wonderful. Miss Horton, what would you say to a high school student who is frustrated, who wants to throw in the towel, what would you say to such a person?
We'd have to sit them down and have a nice long chat, because at high school, you've come too far. And think of all the things that are still in store for you. So we talk about what they want to do with their lives. We talk about things that are waiting for them at the end. So I'm thinking that we teach them patience. We continue to work on their math skills, even if it means taking them back a bit. So if we must take them back a bit to start earlier in their math skills, then we do that. So it certainly means that we work harder and we work one-on-one. We bring them in at their time, find the things they love to do, write problems around what they like. So if they're basketball fans, you know, we might have to, and they have a special team, or football fans with a special team, we can do averages for the teams. We can do that kind of thing, but always something they like, and then get them back to what they must do.
Yes, yes. Thank you for answering these questions for me and for us, actually. And last question before we go into question and answers from the viewers. Why is it so important for students to do well in math?
Well, I mean, students have to realize, and we show them this, they use math every single day. Every single day. We cook using math. You know, we go to the store, we use math. We go out, and we need to show them this. We go out to a restaurant, we use math. We should be able to figure out our tip, or we can get cheated out of what little we have. So there are so many things in society, so many times that we use math in every walk of life. So there's some of the reasons. Plus, if they're looking for many opportunities after school, after high school, then we're talking about many that are math related. And you know, there was a time when children would say, oh, I'll just become a carpenter. What do you mean you'll just become a carpenter? You measure, you use mathematics. And so all of these jobs, every single one, we are using mathematics. We show them that every time you drive down the street, you're using mathematics. When you're dealing with your speed and distance, you're talking about the time it takes to get somewhere. We're using mathematics. So it's just in everywhere we go. We cannot escape it. None of us can.
Wow, wow. And thank you again, Ms. Horton. Math every day. Every day. Absolutely wonderful. And so, are there any questions for Ms. Horton? Are there any questions? Go ahead and type your question in the chat. We'll give you a little time. You know, Ms. Horton, I must say thank you for coming on Math CM and giving us such a wonderful experience. You know, thank you.
You're so welcome. I enjoy talking with you. You know, we worked well together. And
yes.
I learned so much from you, because you're the techie type and I'm not all that techie. So, yes. So my children were working from here, which is great. And you know, right up through middle school, I did not allow them with calculators. I said, no, we're going to learn to calculate these things ourselves. And only in secondary school did we work with calculators. You might have convinced me that they should do
that. Wow. Man, right now, I'm actually thinking about some experiences, back there in Bermuda. Some wonderful experience, especially those evenings when I would ride with you home.
Yes.
You drop me off and you would continue on. Those were actually some wonderful evenings when we would talk and, I get to understand the island a little bit more. That was actually very, 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 very nice. And so, Miss Horton, do you have any final words for audience or viewers? Are there any final words for us tonight?
Well, Mr. Johnson, I am certainly glad that you called me. I'm certainly glad to sit here face to face watching you. We have had a lot of good times. And, even before, we had Christmas at my house. These were wonderful occasions. So I believe that this is a friendship that will be lasting. And now, mind you, I'm old enough to be your mother, but we can still be friends.
Yes, Miss Horton.
So that, yeah, I've really enjoyed it. And I certainly am glad that I was able to come here. And I'm glad, I thank the audience for at least tuning in. And yeah. And next time I come to Jamaica, I used to play ball in Jamaica. I played softball there a few times when I played for Bermuda's national team. You didn't know that, did you?
Wow. Viewers, Miss Horton has achieved or have actually secured a gold medal for her country. But I'm quite sure I may be able to put a link in the description to an interview that she did recently. I don't know if it's in public domain as yet, but
yes, it is.
when it does, I'll actually, put a link to it in the description below. So, Math CM viewers, I want to thank you for coming on today. Thank you for being here and actually experiencing, my friend here, Miss Horton, Veteran Educator Ms. EllenKate Horton. It was definitely a wonderful treat. And if you enjoyed today's interview, just type "I enjoyed" or something like that in the chat. Just go ahead and type something in the chat, letting us know. Smash that like button. If you have not as yet subscribed to Math CM, go ahead and subscribe. And so thank you for making it Math CM tonight.
I know you're coming from Jamaica, so just before we go, let me tell you about my first experience in your country.
Yes.
I landed in Jamaica on my way to Belize to play ball. That was the first time I saw a mango on a tree.
Oh.
I got off that plane. I said, "What? Mangoes on a tree?" Hey, got to that hotel and climbed the tree to get my mangoes.
Yes.
Jamaica has a special place in my heart.
Wow. Yes, Miss Horton, if you're ever in Jamaica and I am here and it's mango season, I will make it a point of my duty to actually secure some East Indians, some Julies. You don't like those ones? You like the Julies. Or even some Aiden. And I'm quite sure, there are many friends, even Miss Anderson here, who could guide me to the right kind of mango that you would thoroughly enjoy. So one more time, thanks for stopping by. And it was absolutely wonderful.
Thank you, Ken. We'll see you soon.
Yes, Ms. Horton. So have a good one and take care. All right. So viewers, again, Thanks for watching and see you in the next video.